Hi there. My name is Holly Edmondson, and I'm going to be talking today about yoga and mindfulness. Today, we're going to talk about the impact of mindfulness practices on chronic conditions. And I'm really pleased to be here. My grandfather had Huntington's, and my uncle had Huntington's, and friends in my family. And I was lucky enough to grow up around the community of HD Reach and got to go to a couple of support groups and offer some guided chair yoga and meditation. And it was just a wonderful experience. Thank you so much for having me at your support groups. It was such a great time to work on my mindfulness project that I now have up and running on my website, and I'll talk about that at the end of our session. Thank you again for giving me your attention. I've been a yoga practitioner. I've been practicing yoga for about 6 years. I've been teaching. I got my license to teach about 2 years ago. And I've been offering yoga at HD Reach every once in a while, also with the local YWCA and at the local VA hospital, which has been a great experience as well. And I also have been offering some online and virtual things during this time. And so keep an eye out for that on my website at hollyedmondsonyoga.com. And I'll offer a couple of other resources that you can utilize as well as that one as we move forward. So before we start, I would like to take just a moment to arrive. So if you want to take a moment and get kind of comfy in your chair if you're seated, maybe shift back and forth a little bit. You could take a couple of shoulder rolls, maybe let your shoulders relax some. You could soften your gaze somewhere, or maybe close your eyes if that feels safe for you. And just begin to notice how your body feels. You could do a quick little body scan from your feet all the way to the top of your head. Just notice any sensations that you feel. And maybe begin to notice how your breath feels. Notice the inhale coming into your nose, nice and cool. The exhale leaving your nose a little bit warmer. And let's just take 1 or 2 rounds of breath, just noticing those sensations of the inhale and the sensations of the exhale. And we'll just do 2 more rounds. And 1 more round. Awesome. So let's get started. Why yoga and mindfulness for HD? So there are a couple of things about yoga and mindfulness that I think really make it an accessible and beneficial practice for somebody who might have Huntington's or maybe as a family member that has Huntington's. The definition of mindfulness, which is one of the big practices in yoga, is bringing your awareness into the present moment, noticing and accepting what is happening right now without judgment or reaction. And this skill of mindfulness can be so helpful when it comes to emotion regulation skills, when it comes to stress management. It can be such a grounding practice that can really help us find relief from anxiety and stress and any kind of a chronic condition. We can look for little moments like that, little mindful moments that help us find a little bit more ease, find a little more comfort, whatever it is that mindfulness can aid you in. And also on top of the mindfulness aspect of yoga, we also have a practice that's really modifiable. And so the thing I love about yoga is that really all you need to do to practice, to be able to practice, is to be able to sit or lay down in a comfortable position and breathe. And that right there is the beginning of a wonderful yoga session. And so you can add in bits and pieces of movement. You can add in different pieces of mental practices that don't involve any movement. And you can practice these things that really help us to find comfort in our mind, in our body, and alleviate some of the areas of discomfort in our lives, whether that's anxiety, whether it's physical discomfort, whatever that might be. And so when you take a yoga practice, you can, another thing I really love about yoga is if you have this mat practice or a standing yoga class, you can take all of those forms and stretches and exercises and adapt them to be accessible from a chair. And one thing that I do at the VA hospital is I teach seated or chair yoga. And chair yoga is a great way to begin a yoga practice. It's great for anybody in our culture who works on a computer or happens to have a little more seating time. And it's really easy to just take a moment if you know a couple of stretches here and there. And so I love chair yoga because it can take a yoga practice and take a lot of the pressure off of the yoga practice to hold yourself up in these really difficult positions when you have to think about it at the same time. And then it invites a little bit more openness for you to focus on things like the breath and focus on things like sensations, as opposed to having to hold yourself up in a challenging position. You can take it down to a chair and explore it in the chair in a little bit of a safer way. And then maybe if you feel like bringing it out of the chair, you can try it in a different way. But there is a lot of different ways that you can modify and make yoga more accessible and really tailor it to the individual who's practicing with you. So you can tailor the pace of the class, the movement, and also you can tailor how much attention you're really having your students have to give to the yoga class. So instead of focusing on both movement and breath, you could try just focusing on the movement and let go of the breath. And then when you feel like you've got the movement down, you can add in the breath practice to make it a little bit more challenging. So you can make it a little easier, and you can also make it a little more challenging once you find you've gotten comfortable. So we really have all these different ways that we can make yoga accessible and fun and really a pleasant experience. The next little point about yoga and mindfulness that I think is so beneficial, particularly when it comes to communities that have chronic conditions that they are dealing with all the time and they're not going to go away, is connection to community and connection to self. So one thing that I love about yoga is that it brings people into a room together, usually with people who are kind of similar to you. A lot of classes that I teach are tailored to yoga for veterans, for instance. And so all of my students who come, they know when they look around the room, it's going to be people who they can relate to, people who have similar experiences to them. And what you hear about from one of the studies that was done on a yoga group, a community yoga class for people with Huntington's disease, is that it can really be validating to be around people who are like you and be in a practice that you're all kind of trying to get the same benefits out of it. And it also just gets you around people. It can give you a positive part of your day where you get to say hi to somebody and they get to say hi to you back. You might make a friend. You might, meet some new acquaintances that you can relate to. So I love the idea of getting lots of yoga for Huntington's groups started, because I think that would really open up the space to a lot of people with Huntington's disease that right now it feels like it's not accessible to, because we don't have those classes yet in a lot of places. So one of the quotes that I loved from the study that I read about a yoga group that has specifically been evolved and created for a few years to serve the local communities Huntington's disease community. And so they had this yoga class going for a couple of years, and they decided to, at one point, offer a couple of surveys to get some feedback about how people were experiencing. They generally had about 3 to 5 students show up, and sometimes they would be by themselves, and it was just the one participant who had Huntington's disease. And then sometimes it would be the participant with Huntington's, and then also their caretaker or a family member would join them. And so one quote that I really enjoyed from that study is everyone was smiling, hugging, and catching up with one another. This sense of community likely contributed to the high level of adherence to the program. So unlike other forms of exercise that can kind of feel, well, I'm a couch potato myself, so I have to get dance involved and music to really get myself exercising and have fun. And yoga can be very gentle, it can be low impact, and it can also be really fun. And so for a lot of people who might have trouble with getting exercise, it can be a great incentive to get out there and move a little bit. And also, another great thing about yoga is that it is a community exercise. And so you can have a whole family come and do yoga classes together. You can get everyone together in the living room and put a little YouTube video on of a yoga class and do it with your family members. You can really do it at any point. You can also even just do a little seated mindful moment before having dinner and have everybody check in and maybe think about one thing that they're grateful for that day. Just little things that we can do to support our family unit or our chosen family unit and those people who support us in our lives. Yoga can be a great way to connect to other people in our lives and offer our other supporters a little bit of support back. And so I love using yoga as a way to find unity. So some of the existing research that is out there on yoga is a lot of it is on yoga and Parkinson's disease. And that can show us a little bit of what the research that we're going to get on Huntington's and yoga is going to show us, because Parkinson's is kind of a similar disease. And so what that research has showed us is that yoga can improve muscle strength and balance for people with Parkinson's. It can also improve their self-reported quality of life. And that's pretty important. It was very well received program by all of the participants, and there was a high level of adherence to everyone who joined the yoga program. And this yoga program was was a controlled study, which means that they had a group that did not participate and they had a group that did, and it was random. So they could really pinpoint and locate what those differences were and what the impacts of the yoga practice were for those people who went through the study. I also found a smaller, not quite as supported research study, but sort of like the beginnings of what we're going to see, I think, in a lot of the research for yoga and Huntington's, and I'm excited for all of that research to happen. And what this smaller study, which was that one community-based class that has existed for a couple of years, where they decided to offer a survey to their group of about 5 students a couple of times and get some feedback. And what those people said from that small community class was that 100% of them would recommend it to a friend or a family member with HD. They all agreed that the level of difficulty was appropriate. And 100% of them strongly agreed that the classes were beneficial to their health. And so that is a wonderful indication that from a self-reported study that we can see some strong felt benefits from the people who have participated. And I'm excited for the research to follow and continue to show some of the more physical, tangible benefits that we can pinpoint and measure. And I'm really excited for all of that research to show what we already know is happening, and that people can feel a whole lot better by doing this practice. So the research articles I just want to mention in case anybody wants to go find those research articles and read them for themselves. The first one was the study of the small yoga group, and that's called A Qualitative Examination of Physiotherapist-Led Community-Based Yoga for Individuals with Huntington's Disease. And you'll see on the slide the name for that in bold. And if you want to find that article, you can go Google it. You can go type in that title and Google it and find some of the more detailed information about that study. You can do the same thing with the following two studies that are about Parkinson's: the effect of yoga on motor function in people with Parkinson's disease, a randomized controlled pilot study, and then also exercise improves cognition in Parkinson's disease, the PRET-PD randomized controlled trial. Or randomized clinical trial, excuse me. So you can find those 3 studies where I got all of this information from on that PowerPoint. And then lastly, I'll mention a couple of resources that I find very, very supportive in my own yoga practice before we get to our little yoga sequence. And the first one is going to be a little app that you can download on any smart device or even on your iPad or something like that. And it's called Breathe Plus. And what it looks like is just this little little screen right here where you can put in how long you want your inhale to be, how long you want your exhale to be. And what it'll do is it'll give you a graphic that you can follow with your eyes or with sound to follow with your breath. And so I have mine set to a 4-second inhale and a 4-second exhale, which is just kind of a balanced, even inhale, exhale. And what will happen is the graphic will move up for 4 seconds. And so you'll inhale, and then down for 4 seconds where you exhale. Inhale and exhale. And this is a great, great app. You can adjust it as much as you'd like to, and it's free as long as you don't mind the little ads in the bottom. Another app that's really great is called Insight Timer. And Insight Timer has a bunch of guided meditations. They have some sleep assistance tools to help you fall asleep at night. They've got mindful music and nature sounds if you want some good background noise. They have a lot of really awesome resources on their app. And then YouTube is another great resource for lots of things. You can look up chair yoga sequences. You can look up any kind of yoga sequences that tailor to different areas of your body, or guided meditation practices that tailor to different concepts that you want to work with. And a couple of YouTube channels that I really enjoy are Yoga with Adriene. That's spelled Adrienne, Yoga with Adriene. And then also the Veterans Yoga Project. They have a wonderful YouTube channel with a lot of accessible yoga practices, chair yoga practices, just meditation and breathing. They have a very great wide range of yoga practices on their YouTube channel, and that's the Veterans Yoga Project. And you can just type them in and they'll pop up. There's also a website called selfcompassion.org that I really enjoy, and they have a ton of different guided meditations that are focused on self-compassion. And that's a topic that I personally like to give a little bit of extra attention to in my own meditation practice. So that's a great resource you can check out. They also have a self-compassion test that you can do to see how compassionate you are to yourself. And it kind of helps you pinpoint all the different ways that we can be compassionate and define all the different ways we can be compassionate towards ourselves. And then lastly, I'll mention my website. That's hollyedmondsonyoga.com. And at that website, you can find a couple of different guided meditations that are recorded, about 15 to 20 minutes in length. And then there's also a month-long self-guided mindfulness project that you can walk yourself through that's really enjoyable. It takes a different concept, a different mindfulness skill, and breaks them down, 5 different skills, breaks them down into 5 weeks. So it's a little over a month, but you can walk yourself through it at any pace that feels good for you. And there's a guided meditation for each skill. And so you can spend 1 day, you can spend 1 week as suggested, or however much time you like on each of those 5 different skills. And you can always come back and redo whatever skills you feel like you need to brush up on. And that's a free resource on my website. You just go to the Mindfulness Project tab, and all the instructions are under that tab on my website. So thank you so much for giving me time to talk a little bit about yoga and mindfulness and some of the things that I've learned about how it can be supportive to any kind of a situation, any kind of a life that you're living. If you're in a place where things feel great and you feel stable and you'd like to amplify or maybe even just more presently feel what you're experiencing now, meditation is great. It can really aid in helping you pay attention to those really happy, positive moments and notice things that you may not notice before. It's also great if you're having a hard time. This is a tough time for a lot of us. We're stuck in our houses and we don't have a whole lot to do, and we're not as, we're social distancing, so we don't have as much connection to other people. And so this can be a great way to feel connected to other people, even just sitting in your own home by yourself. So if you'd like to, you're welcome to stay tuned and do some yoga with me. We're just gonna do some chair yoga today. And we're just gonna do about 10-15 minutes of it. So you won't need a whole lot of time. And this sequence is just a very basic sequence that I feel like is great for any point during the day, if you're working on your computer, or even just sitting on the couch, as long as you've got a place to sit, that you can take yourself through a couple of different stretches that mostly will help with some back pain or neck pain, anything in your upper torso area that will give you maybe just a little bit of more comfort and a little release of any tension. So if you want to take a moment, find a nice sturdy chair to sit in. You could scoot forward a little bit so that your spine is nice and lifted up and tall towards the sky. Make sure that your feet are planted nice and firmly into the ground, and you feel really sturdy in your lower body. And then if you'd like to, you can do a couple of shoulder rolls, maybe open your chest a little bit. Take a couple of breaths and just begin to arrive here. Maybe find some stillness. You could rest your hands on your lap and just take a few breaths to tune in here. Noticing the cool inhale as it comes into your nose. The warm exhale as it leaves your nose. Maybe begin to set a little bit of intention for the next 10 minutes or so. As you watch your breath, just very gently watch your inhale and your exhale. Just begin to let an intention come to the surface. This time could merely serve the purpose of just making you a little bit more comfortable, and finding a little bit more serenity in your present moment experience, or comfort in your present moment experience. Maybe you want to send yourself some compassion. So maybe as you sit here and notice your breath, you want to spend a little bit of time bringing in some self-compassion, whatever that feels like to you. And as you take one or two more breaths here, just to settle in, you could also find that your intention is gratitude, just cultivating a sense of gratitude. Anything else that feels like it's rising for you right now is your intention. Just take a moment, one more breath to let that settle in. And then when you're ready to move, the next time that you breathe in, we'll just reach our arms out to the side and then up overhead, just as far as is comfortable for your shoulders. And then as you exhale, we'll bring our hands and our arms down onto our sides. We'll do that just 2 or 3 more times at your own pace. As you breathe in, lift the arms up. And as you breathe out, let the arms come down. And feel free to follow your own breath here. If you're moving at a different pace than I am. And we'll do one more. Inhale and reach the arms up. And exhale to reach the arms down. Awesome. You can do those little sun breaths at any point to find a little connection to your breath and movement. We'll do a little spinal stretch now that's just going to focus on bringing some of the movement into the whole length of your spine. So as you breathe in, you can rest your hands down on your knees if that feels supportive for you. And as you breathe in, you'll let your belly kind of begin to puff forward, and your chest and ribs pull forward as well as up. And you'll find a little gentle curve in the back of your spine, almost like you're arching your spine. If you want to get your neck involved, you could look a little up into the sky as you open your front body here. And then when you're ready to take the counter stretch, we'll round our spine back behind us, tuck our chin a little bit down towards our chest, and almost as if we're sending our belly button back towards our spine, just rounding our spine in the opposite direction here. And then we'll come back forward, open the ribs and chest. Again, arch your back just gently, maybe look a little up into the sky. And then we'll round our spine, tuck everything in, maybe tuck your chin a little bit. And bring your belly towards your spine here. And the next time you breathe in, we'll come forward again. Let your shoulders open, maybe lift your gaze up into the sky. And then as you exhale, we'll round our spine and tuck our chin. We'll do that 2 more times on both sides. So inhale forward, open the shoulders and lift the gaze. And then exhale to round the spine, tuck the chin in. Inhale to open the front body. And exhale to round everything in. Wonderful, awesome job. So now we'll take a moment. You can settle back into your chair, maybe wiggle side to side again to find your seat. And then we'll take a couple of side stretches. So as you breathe in, we'll lift our right arm up overhead. Find our left hand down in the chair and either your left hand or your left elbow. And then as you breathe out, we'll lean onto our left hand and reach our arm over to the side, just to stretch the right side body. And as you breathe in, we'll lift everything up and windmill our arms to switch sides, lifting our left arm this side and our right arm comes down. You can take a breath in and reach real nice and tall, and then exhale to lean over onto your right hand and stretch your left side body. And we'll lift back up to center to switch arms, lean over to the left side. Take a breath to come back to the center, switch arms, lean over to the right. And if you want to involve your breath here, you can inhale as you reach up. Exhale as you lean over. Inhale as you reach up. And exhale as you lean over. And we'll do that one more time. Inhale to reach up. Exhale to lean over to the left side. Inhale to switch arms. Exhale to lean over to the right. And inhale to come back to center. And exhale, maybe take a little wiggle back and forth. Awesome job. So now we've just got one little last final stretch before we focus on our neck, which is my favorite part. So as you breathe in, you can reach your arms forward in front of you, maybe a little bit up high. And then we'll exhale and turn as if we're turning to the left and let our arms come down wherever. You might find your front arm to rest on your front knee. Maybe your back arm begins to find the back of the chair. And we'll just look over to the left side here. Maybe take a breath in and grow really tall through your whole spine as you breathe in. And then as you exhale, you could look a little bit over your left shoulder. And take a breath here, and as you breathe in, grow nice and tall. Exhale to maybe twist a little bit more. And the next time you breathe in, we'll reach our arms forward and up as we unwind. And then exhale our hands down to the center. Inhale, we'll reach our arms back up overhead. And then exhale to twist to the right side this time. And let your hands come down wherever they would like to land. Maybe your front hand lands on your front knee and the back hand finds the chair somewhere. And then now just twisting over to the right. As we breathe in, we'll lift and lengthen nice and tall through our whole spine. And as we exhale, we can look a little bit over our right shoulder. Maybe take one more breath here on this side, just like that. Inhaling to grow tall. Exhaling to spin just a bit more. And then when you're ready to unravel, we'll inhale and reach our arms forward and up. And exhale the hands back down to center. Awesome. So now we'll just do a little bit with our neck, just to get our neck feeling a little bit nice and easeful. And so as you breathe in here, we'll just begin to look up towards the sky a little bit so that we're stretching the front of our neck here. And be careful not to drop the weight behind you, but as if you were lifting everything up instead of back. And so here we'll just stretch the front of our neck a little bit. And then when you're ready to, we'll pivot and turn our nose down towards the ground and stretch the back of our neck for just a minute. And then as you breathe in next, you can look up towards the sky. And as you breathe out, we can look back towards the ground. Inhale to look back up. Exhale to look down. Inhale to look up. Exhale to look down. And one more at your own pace. Lovely job. Now we'll take our nose right to center. And this time as we breathe in, we'll look over our left shoulder. And as we breathe out, we can bring our nose back to the center. And we'll inhale to look over the right shoulder. And then exhale to bring the nose back to center. Inhale to look over to the left. Exhale to come back to the midline. Inhale to look over to the right. Exhale to come back to the middle. And we'll do that one more time. Inhale over to that first side. Exhale back to the center. Inhale to the second side. And exhale back to the center. Awesome. So now we'll do our last little neck stretch. And as you breathe in, you could imagine that there was a string on the top of your head, lifting your whole spine towards the sky. So breathe in and grow really nice and tall. And then as you breathe out, we'll drop our left ear over towards our left shoulder. And then inhale to lift the crown back up to center. And exhale to drop our right ear over towards our right shoulder. Inhale to lift the crown to center. Exhale to drop over to the left side. Inhale to reach the crown up nice and tall. And exhale to drop the right ear over towards the right shoulder. Inhale to lift back up to center. Exhale to drop your left ear over to your left shoulder. And now that our left ear is over at our left shoulder, we'll take a couple breaths here and just play with the sensations. You might take your left hand, or your right hand, excuse me, and reach your fingertips down towards the ground, or even back behind you a little bit, as if you were pulling on this muscle that attaches into your neck here. You could also open and close your jaw a little bit, and that sometimes can help stretch some of these jaw and neck muscles right here. And so you can play a little bit with that sensation. Take a full round of breath here in any way that feels helpful. And then once you've given the side of your neck a little attention, we'll inhale and lift the crown nice and tall. And then exhale to drop the left ear over to the left shoulder, right ear over to the right shoulder, excuse me. So giving the left side this nice little stretch here, we'll reach our left arm down towards the ground as if we were tugging our shoulder, as if it was trying to reach that shoulder down. Our shoulders often want to reach up towards our ears. See if we can let that shoulder release down towards the ground. You could even play with your jaw here a little bit just to get some of these neck muscles involved while you're in the stretch, playing with opening and closing your mouth. Maybe jutting your jaw forward a little. It can look a little funny, but it feels really nice. And then when you've given that side enough of a stretch, enough attention, we'll inhale, lift the crown to center, and exhale to settle. Now we'll take one moment to bring your hands either to rest right on top of your heart, or if you'd like to, you can close your hands together in a prayer position in front of your heart, whatever feels more resonant to you. You could take a moment and maybe close your eyes or soften your gaze or rest it somewhere. And just take a few breaths here, noticing that sensation of rising and falling in your abdomen and your chest. Maybe take 2 more breaths, just like that. And if you'd like to, you could think of just one small thing that you're grateful for today. Maybe it was that cup of tea or coffee this morning when it felt so perfect. Maybe there was a little stretch that you enjoyed or a talk from education day that you just really, really got a lot out of. Just take one moment to find some small thing that you can be grateful for just for today. And thank you so much for giving me your time and your attention. It's an honor and a privilege to share yoga and its practices with you. So the light in me honors and respects the light within you. Namaste and go in peace. Thank you.